The Infamous series was one of the major first-party releases last generation, and Sony's definitely putting it at the forefront for the PlayStation 4 with Infamous Second Son. Infamous Second Son isn't a traditional sequel. It's not Infamous 3. It actually has a whole new protagonist named Delsin Rowe, who sort of has to deal with discovering that he has superpowers.
The story is really about the origins of this new guy, Delsin Rowe, and him coming to terms with his powers. Superhero stories always are fantastic at origins, and in this case, as a video game, I think origin stories are particularly good because the kind of experience that the player's having of like, how do these powers work, how do these controls work, really parallels what the character's going through in the narrative of how do my powers work. And I think that sort of relationship being very similar really makes the stories immersive.
One of the big differences between Delsin and the previous protagonist, Cole, is that rather than electric powers, he's using what they're calling smoke powers, which are sort of like fire-based. These powers make him incredibly agile, incredibly mobile. He can warp between enemies, he can go through the vent of a building and it'll shoot him right up to the top of the building kind of immediately. And it looks incredibly fun and fast-paced. One of the other major things that Infamous Second Son is doing to push the power of the PS4 is you can actually destroy lots of structures in the world. And at least Sucker Punch is saying right now that when you destroy stuff in the world, it stays gone. It's not going to be something where you leave and you come back and it's repopulated. I think it's kind of cool that the game gives you these huge destructive powers and encourages you to use them, but also kind of tells you you're going to have these permanent consequences on the world. What you do is going to leave a mark. Sucker Punch seems to want to actually tell a really interesting, deep story with Infamous Second Son. They're dealing with some really interesting thematic things about the struggle between security and freedom.
It really started with thinking about the themes of the game and this whole, we wanted to do a game that had some significant thematic content, and the sort of thoughts on our mind were along the lines of, what's going on really in the real world about how governments and societies are reacting to threats. And
Delsin's always fighting with this group called the DUP, which is the Department of Unified Protection. This is basically a governmental agency, sort of like Homeland Security, like a post-9/11 Homeland Security. The DUP was created right after the events of Infamous 2 to basically hunt down and capture any superhumans, which they're now calling bioterrorists.
7 years ago, there was this kind of horrific, damage and destruction, and superhumans are bioterrorists is the new kind of branding for them, and these bioterrorists have created all this destruction, and so, you enter a period where it's, never again kind of thinking, and so, we will spare no expense to ensure it never happens again. And I think the kind of interesting part is that it's viewed as a success. And that sets us up for a story where things maybe don't go perfectly and ask new questions about why we're tolerating the new normal.
Everything we've seen so far of Infamous Second Son looks really incredible, and I'm excited to see more. Sucker Punch is putting a lot of emphasis on their desire to really dig into the meaning of these themes. Whether or not they're going to actually be able to pull that off, I'm not so sure yet. But either way, I think it's safe to say that the game is going to be a great showcase for the PlayStation 4.